What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Quick little turnaround here after Tuesday's episode. Not as much to talk about, honestly. Things are kind of dying out, so might be a little basketball heavy episode here. This is your Sports Digest. I'm your host, Alex McNinch, back at it with another episode, and I kind of just alluded to it there a little bit, but there's not really much that we can honestly talk about from this past week, really, since I had my last episode on Tuesday. There's only been a couple things that have happened within the time frame of the last episode, so we're gonna kind of cover a lot more basketball today, mainly because the draft is coming a week from the day I'm recording. So next Thursday, the 22nd, is the NBA draft. A lot of stuff going around. That trades, draft profiles moving up and down the board. You just never know what's going to happen. So we'll do a lot more basketball today, but we're going to cover a couple of things because we have a new Stanley Cup champion that we will talk about here. We're going to start off with all the other stuff. We're going to talk about hockey first. We're going to talk about a little bit of baseball first to preview for the weekend. That is the College World Series, because I know that's what you guys will be watching more than the MLB. And then we'll hop into the real NBA talk. So I'm going to do a timestamp in the links or like the description of whatever you're listening to this on, Spotify or Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you're at. I'm going to have a timestamp where if you just want to listen to the NBA talk and you want to skip all the other NHL stuff and college baseball, go ahead and we'll go right into the NBA. So I'll see y'all then if you guys are skipping, but if not, you're going to stay through here. Well, we have a new Stanley Cup champion to crown. The Vegas Golden Knights end up winning the Stanley Cup. I know I pretty much proclaimed my belief in the Florida Panthers, but my goodness, if you have seen some of the stuff that has come out on Twitter or over social media, the amount of injuries that occurred to that Panthers roster, there was not a shot they were ever going to win that. Obviously, I left you guys off talking about if Matthew Tkachuk was going to play or not. He was a game-time decision. He did not. So Florida without their best player and Bobrovsky already not really playing to the level that he had been the rest of the playoffs. You could tell he ran out of gas, and that was always the concern with him. Was he going to be able to be good for the stretch run? And he had proven he was, but obviously ran out of gas. Vegas routing victory on Tuesday night, 9-3 in their home arena, the T-Mobile Arena, I believe it is. So congratulations to the Golden Knights. Mark Stone with a hat trick in that game-clinching game, I guess. The Stanley Cup clinching game. That's more like it, I guess. And Jonathan Marchessault wins the Conn Smythe, which is the MVP throughout the entire Stanley Cup playoffs. And if you've seen on my social medias right after that, you would know that back at the beginning of the Stanley Cup Finals, when the two teams found out who they were playing or who was playing in the game, I said that if Vegas was going to win, bet on Jonathan Marchessault to win it. And he had come alive in this Stanley Cup Final, really taken over, and ended up winning the Conn Smythe. So hopefully you listen there, and if you're a betting person, hopefully you bet on that there. If not, then I guess that shows a little bit more credibility to my hockey knowledge, I guess, knowing that a guy was going to break out. And it's not like it was an obvious pick, but, he just had a great breakout series, great breakout playoffs that it was bound for that to even happen. So congratulations to Vegas and to Jonathan Marchessault specifically for winning the Conn Smythe. Congratulations to a lot of those guys. They lost in their inaugural season in 2018 to the Capitals. And throughout the time, Marchessault was one of the guys that was a part of that expansion draft, came over from the Florida Panthers in the expansion draft. So it's a full circle moment for him, which is really cool. He was a part of that 2018 team that didn't win and lost to the Capitals, and they lost on home ice. So to be able to win at home is a cool moment for them. As a fan of another expansion team, and there's a little bit of a rivalry between us, this is going to be absolute hell listening on social media for months now until the season starts about this Stanley Cup championship for them. So it's all right though. I'm I'm not a true hater in hockey like I am in other sports to teams, so I have no issue with it personally for them to win. So congratulations to them and a lot of the guys who are just winning their first ever Stanley Cups. Obviously, it's a big moment for them. Big parade. If you don't know anything about Stanley Cup parades, those things are wild, like wild. Every player gets to take home the Stanley Cup. They drink out of it. They do other stuff in it that I probably can't speak about on this podcast that I don't want to know about. But it's a wild celebration. So congratulations to them. And that's it for the NHL. That's the season. The NHL draft will happen in the next month, which we'll find out where some of these guys are going. Connor Bedard, we already know, is going to be the number 1 overall pick for the Chicago Blackhawks. So we're a couple months away from seeing him play on the NHL ice, and that'll be a lot of fun to watch. A lot of the free agency stuff's going to happen in mid-July, right after the NBA kind of slows down and gets in the summer league. That's when the NHL free agency happens. Trades already flying off the board for the NHL. Some extensions already occurring there. I guess we can cover some of them, but you guys probably won't know really. Jasper Brett signs a $63 million contract to re-sign with the New Jersey Devils, and it is an extension. Great job locking him up. He was a key part in this season and their playoff run. And then there was a trade that happened. I don't remember what it is. I'm trying to find it right now. There it is. The Devils made a trade. They sent Damon Severson to the Blue Jackets in a rare sign-and-trade move is what it's titled. So they traded him over there, and the Blue Jackets immediately extended him, or they extended Severson and then send him to the Blue Jackets. Either way, Damon Severson is a part of the Blue Jackets organization, and the Devils ended up getting a third-round pick, which would be the 80th overall pick. That's a very interesting thing. I'm not aware that you could have done that. But I guess since you can extend any player you want right now, I guess a trade and then extension wouldn't really be too much of a difference, I guess. So that's the NHL. When some of the big stuff starts to drop, if Patrick Kane re-signs with the Rangers, all this other stuff, that's when we'll talk about it more. But that's going to be it for the NHL. I know a lot of you guys don't really care about it as much, may not watch it, and this could be the only time you've been watching is because of the Stanley Cup Finals. But I hope if you did watch, you enjoyed, because it is fun. It's really enjoyable, high energy, high paced, a lot of excitement. So we'll catch back up with hockey in the next month or so. But for now, though, it was a great season. The Kraken made a great run in their second season in franchise history, and obviously came up short to the Dallas Stars in that Game 7. But the Stars ended up losing to the eventual Stanley Cup champions. So I guess it works out. So congratulations to Vegas, and congratulations to Florida on a fantastic season too, where they just kind of came up short and got too injured towards the end. And then the college baseball World Series is happening this weekend. Games starting today that the episode comes out. Oral Roberts and TCU playing in the first game, and Virginia in the Florida Gators in the second game on Friday. And then on Saturday, Stanford and Wake Forest get the first game, and then Tennessee and LSU will follow that. Couple things to note here. Let's talk a little bit about some of these teams to get you prepared, because I know a lot of you guys, since there's not much else on at all, this is what you're probably going to watch. And some of you that are listening are fans of some of these teams that are playing, so we'll cover some of the bases here. Let's look at Oral Roberts and TCU. TCU and Oral Roberts, both similar teams in the fact that not really great starts to the season, and went on massive winning streaks down the second half stretch and found their way into the tournament. Found their way into the tournament and then just kept their hot streak going all the way down to the College World Series. They finally meet up and will collide against one another, so we'll see who the hotter team is. If you're looking at Oral Roberts, you're going to look at their pitching staff. Their pitching staff is one of the more underrated in the nation. They have two guys in particular that are really solid guys. I can't remember their names, but they had the 1 and 2 that pitched in the Oregon series that basically won them the game, and both are relievers. So Oral Roberts has a good chance. They're 51-12 to TCU's 42-22. Batting wise, looking at Oral Roberts as a better team batting average, more home runs, better on base percentage, better slugging. Like I mentioned, Oral Roberts' team ERA is a 3.8 to TCU's 4.8. The whip is 1.26 to 1.41. That may not make any sense to any of you guys that are listening, but just know that all of Oral Roberts' stats are much better than TCU's. Granted, looking at the conference that they're playing in, the competition they played in, maybe not the same level, but in baseball, the conference, strength, I guess, may not have as much of a detriment to the team's stats as it would in maybe football or basketball. So I think Oral Roberts ends up winning this series and will advance on just because solely they have this pitching that was unbelievable throughout the season. Kind of was meh against Oregon, but I think they're going to bounce back in a good way, and Oral Roberts will move on to the Final Four. And if you remember, at the beginning of all of this, the entire NCAA baseball tournament, I told you guys that this Oral Roberts team was better than the basketball teams that we've seen in the NCAA basketball tournaments the past few years, and I am completely right. So take what I'm saying with some credibility. And then moving on to the second game on Friday, today, whatever you are listening to this, Virginia and Florida, and you look at Virginia, and they're 50-13 to Florida's 50-15. Down the stretch with Virginia, they just kept getting hotter and hotter. They lost in the ACC tournament to North Carolina and was knocked out early. Florida knocked out by Vandy. But both teams catching fire here as of late. The big thing to note about Virginia is their bats. Their bats are hot, and when they're hot, they're really hot. Batting a .335 team average, and their on-base percentage is .429, which is ridiculous. And their slugging is a .531 as well. But if you're looking at this Florida baseball team, right, you're not going to look at the guys that are hitting for average, your on-base percentage guys. No, you're looking at a team who has 157 total home runs as a team. Virginia had 82. Florida has 157 total home runs. They're slugging .569. I mean, that is ridiculous. 157 home runs. I didn't realize it was that much, right? That's a lot in comparison to the other team. In their other teams in their bracket, other side of the bracket, their offenses are ridiculous. We'll get to them, but and then you're looking at Florida, and obviously I'm going to name drop Florida players a little bit more just because I obviously am a fan, so I know them a little bit more. But you got the top three guys on the pitching staff. You got Jack Caglione, who's probably going to be the number one overall pick next year. He is a two-way player, throws 95 from the left side, and hits like 40 home runs. It's ridiculous. He's insane. So keep an eye out for him in the draft. He's a sophomore this year. You can't get drafted out of college until you're a junior. So he'll get draft eligible next year. He's your number one starter. Hurston Waltrip, a Southern Miss transfer, who would have been amazing if we had him on our team this year. Probably would have been much better in the tournament. He is pitching for Florida. He's pitching for Florida. He's unbelievable. Throws 95, 90 to 97. Just hard contact or hard pitching to face. High strikeout rate, but also a high walk rate. So that is in question as well there. And then the other guy, Brendan Sproat, from Pensacola, went to Pace High School. I faced off against him a couple times in high school. He was drafted last year, came back for another year, started out really well, has started to kind of get rocked a little bit lately, but these bats are power hitting. I'm obviously going to go with Florida here. Why would I not go with Florida? But Virginia's a very good team. Virginia is gonna be one of those hard-nosed, grindy teams that are going to get you there. Looking at Saturday's games, we'll fly by these pretty quickly here. Stanford and Wake Forest, two incredible offenses, but you're looking at Wake Forest and their pitching staff, and it's even better than their offense. And to say that is insane because they scored 22 runs against Alabama in an elimination game this past weekend in the Super Regional. So they literally took Alabama out to the back and put them down to rest. So Wake Forest, and then obviously we talked about Stanford and the way that they ended up making the College World Series against Texas. I think Wake Forest wins this. There's no need we can go down the stats. The batting averages are very similar, 316 to Stanford, 309 to Wake Forest. Home runs 159 to 129 in the favor of Stanford. On-base percentage, 419 for Stanford, 432 for Wake. Team's earned run average. Here's Stanford's 5.94 ERA to Wake Forest's 2.87. We obviously saw that Stanford pitcher that threw 3,000 pitches in one game. So will he be the same this weekend? As a former pitcher who got tired after like 60 pitches, I'll tell you that he is gassed still, and it's a week later. He's not going to be the same coming out. I might be completely wrong. He might be a different guy. But, like, if you look at other pitchers, if you see guys that are going this deep into games, it's questionable going into the next outing. Looking at Southern Miss's ace and Tanner Hall, who pitched 123 pitches last weekend in the regional against Samford, I believe, came out against Tennessee this past weekend and got rocked. So you're normally not the same after throwing a crap ton of pitches, so we'll see how he bounces back. But I think Wake overall is the best team in this tournament still. So Wake Forest will move on against Stanford there. And then finally to the one where most of you guys that listen are fans of these teams, Tennessee and LSU. Obviously, Tennessee beat Southern Miss to get into the College World Series. Am I salty still? Not anymore. I wish it was us, but I knew that we weren't the better team at the end of the day. Tennessee deserved it. They played their asses off and got in. So they're taking on LSU. LSU beat Kentucky in the Super Regional to move on. And looking at their stats, batting average 284 for Tennessee to LSU's 314. Both teams hitting 125 and 133 home runs. On-base percentage, Tennessee's 400, LSU at 438. Slugging is almost the exact same, 531 to 539. Earn run average, you're looking at Tennessee's ERA, 3.66, LSU's 4.64. If you're looking at LSU's staff as a whole, it's not as complete as Tennessee's staff is. But you look at LSU, and they have the best pitcher in the country probably, and Paul Skeens, who is going to be the number one overall, or he's going to be a number 2 overall pick in this year's draft, behind his teammate Dylan Cruz, who plays in center field. He's going to be the number 1 overall pick. But Skeens, dude, I mean, him and I have like same throwing motions, but his goes at 100 miles per hour. Mine didn't. Mine was like 40 miles per hour less than that. But it just looks so effortlessly when he throws. And then they got the offense to back it up. As you see, they're gonna grind out at bats. I talked about Dylan Cruz. He was fantastic against Southern Miss last year in the regional, and he's even better this year. Obviously, being projected number 1 overall pick. But Tennessee holds their own standard. They got Maui Aluma. I think that's his last name, but he's a transfer from Kansas. He's been great. Blake Burke hit a 700-foot bomb into a church parking lot last weekend against Southern Miss. They're a team that's getting really hot at the right time. There was a part in the season where they couldn't find it. They couldn't field the ball, making mental mistakes. And then as soon as they hit that Clemson regional, they caught fire, and they're taking it here. They got Chase Dolander on the mound, Chase Burns in the bullpen, other guys that can come in and shove for them. I think LSU wins just because they're a complete team hitting-wise, and we've seen them be more consistent over a large sample point. But I think this is going to be your best matchup of the weekend. If you look at their regular season series, LSU took 2 out of 3 against them. That was at LSU, I believe. So, it's going to be a little bit of different. LSU and Tennessee fans travel very well as fan bases, so it'll be interesting to see. I think Tennessee is going to ride their momentum, but it looked like they were kind of declining last week against Southern Miss until the rain delays. They got the extra day and they kind of found their spark again. So that'll be interesting. I think LSU is going to win this one. I think Tennessee's luck ends up running out, but I would not be surprised at all if Tennessee's pitching carries them through this tournament and gets them farther. I just think that if you're looking at LSU as a complete team, it's a little bit better. So that's your games this week. I know I talked a lot about those and broke it down a lot, because we got some NBA stuff to talk about, a lot of rumors. So I just want to get you guys a little bit aware of who these teams are that you're going to probably be watching this weekend, like I said, because there's nothing else on to watch this weekend. And now we move on to the NBA, where it is wild in the NBA at the moment. We left off with a lot of interesting rumors happening with the Scoot Henderson and New Orleans Pelicans deal, with the Pelicans wanting to move up. Now there are other teams. Bradley Beal's report is set to be on the trading block, and both the Wizards and Beal will be looking to find a new home, potentially this offseason via trade. Beal has a no-trade clause. He's getting paid $50 million for the next 4 years, I believe, and he's starting to show a little bit of a decline, but I think he's going to be valuable to any team who needs that extra score. He's just unfortunately had some injuries. I guess you could say quote-unquote injuries because you don't know how true they are and how long he was out with them. Maybe it was that the Wizards holding it back a little bit. I don't know, but there's new management for the Wizards. They're looking to move him. It's reported that the Celtics and the 76ers are 100% out on getting Bradley Beal, and the two teams to probably look for would be the Miami Heat. And an interesting one to talk about today that would be a sneaky pick, I think that they said, and it'd be the Sacramento Kings. Now, that's interesting. I don't know what kind of package they'd put together to get him, but I'm sure that would be a great addition for their team. It's just you're bringing in more offense, which you're an offensive-heavy team at the start, but your defensive side with Bradley Beal is not going to be there. And Bradley Beal is smaller than De'Aaron Fox. Like, I don't know what we're going to have to work with there, but I think it'd be more likely you see him go to the Heat or maybe even the Knicks. I think the Knicks could potentially get him. I think the Heat are the number one team you could look at for Bradley Beal right now. It says that the Lakers are looking to move down from 17. That'd be interesting to see who'd be wanting to trade with the Lakers to move up a little bit. I know Memphis is excited about moving up or quote-unquote aggressively trying to move up. According to Jonathan Givony of ESPN and Draft Express, he said that they're going to be looking to move up into the end of the lottery, middle of the first round. Okay, we'll find that out, I guess. So maybe there are going to be other teams that want to help move up and help the Lakers out, I guess. I don't know. The Warriors could potentially be trading Jonathan Kuminga for a draft pick, a high pick. I don't know how much of a high pick you're looking at here if you're Golden State. I'm sure there's other teams that have multiple picks in the late lottery that are willing to give up one of those picks for Jonathan Kuminga, a.k.a. like Utah or Utah's the first one that comes to mind that has multiple picks in like the top 20. So Utah could be a team that would want to maybe take them on. And then an interesting thing that has also came out is that Zion Williamson, there's a chance that the camp within Zion is ready to be traded and that the Pelicans are actually fielding calls for him for the first time, which that's interesting. I guess we all thought this was going to happen eventually, but not in this way. I guess it's just not a fit for him to be on this team. I never thought Brandon Ingram and Zion would work together. I think that I don't know. I just didn't think that they always would end up working together. Both their play style. If you look at their play styles, I guess you can look at it a guy who wants the ball in his hands a lot and scores from the perimeter and the mid-range, and then another dude who can catch lobs and dominate in the post. But both guys need the ball in their hands, and Zion's just not healthy enough to be able to play enough. And you have CJ McCollum, who also wants the ball in his hands. So it's all a mess. They might be moving it. And then Zach LaVine also potentially could be on the move. Chicago are quietly fielding offers for Zach LaVine. If you're New York, I think you give them a call right now and see what you can get or what you have to give up to get Zach LaVine. I think he'd be a perfect fit for the Knicks specifically. So that's kind of the rumors that we've got right now as of Thursday night that I am recording this at 7 o'clock. since there's nothing on, I'm recording this a little early in the night so I don't have to stay up until midnight to edit all of this stuff from the podcast. So that's kind of the rumor stuff that's happening right now. We will move over to the draft stuff and kind of my website. And I want to first say about my website, if you go on there, I have a free agency tracker that I made that is on the website. So when free agency happens or people are allowed to negotiate with their teams or different teams on June 29th, I have a live tracker of where all these players are going to end up going. I'll insert it all in, so if you want to keep track with it, you lose track of it on Twitter or whatever, I'll be all there, typing it all in and keeping it updated for you guys on my website so you can stay up to date. Also on there, I will have my mock draft 2.0 coming out on Saturday. I'm going to give it a couple more days just to kind of ease the potential, rumors that are coming in. And I'm glad I saved doing this podcast for a little bit later because another Grizzlies workout was scheduled that is very interesting. We'll get to that in a little bit here as well. So those are the things that are going to be on the website and exciting stuff. It's a great place for you to go and follow all this stuff. If you want to go learn about some of the prospects, I have some breakdowns about them, the mock draft, the draft rankings. There's going to be an updated big board on Monday before the draft. Next week, we'll have a full mock. My final mock draft will be a Wednesday special episode. So it'll be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. But Wednesday's episode is just going to be the mock draft. Moving on to the NBA draft stuff to kind of talk about it a little bit more. I've given you all of my guys that I like, right? I've talked about my top 10 prospects that I think are in this class. And I'm going to give you 5 guys that are under the radar players. Maybe some guys are really kind of turning their heads at them. But in the grand scheme of things, you're not hearing any of these guys' names and you're jumping for joy immediately trying to get him in the draft. Unless you're like a real draft guy that pays attention to all this stuff. So we're going to first start out with one of the 5 guys who just recently scheduled his workout with the Grizzlies. Jonathan Givony put him in on his mock draft on ESPN to go to the Grizzlies. And I love this fit a lot. And his name is Brandon Podziemski. He is from Santa Clara. He's a 6'5" guard, can play on and off the ball. I think he's phenomenal. If you watch some of the highlights and film that he does, he plays like it's scarily similar to Luke Kennard. Like very scarily similar. The guy is, he's lefty. He loves the push floater, high arcing 3, same release point, both white. What else do you need? Brandon can play make. I think that's one of his underrated things of his game is he can play make. And if you look at some of the games, he was the West Coast Conference Player of the Year with Drew Timme. So that tells you something. And if you're looking at Santa Clara, who was the guy last year that was the real surprise of the draft? Was Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara. So they obviously know what they're doing over there with some of the guys. Let's look at a couple games here if you want to pay attention and you're like, what does this guy give you? Sure, you're looking at Pacific University. What do they got? How good at basketball are they really? It doesn't really matter because when you're scoring 38 points, hitting 6 for 11 from 3, have 9 rebounds as a guard, that's pretty good. Not to mention, by the way, he averages 20 and 9, and that's not 9 assists. That's 9 rebounds for a 6'5" guard. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, you're probably like, all right, cool, whatever. That's not a good team. Let's look at another team. All right, a tournament team, Iona, head by Rick Pitino, a legendary coach in college basketball. 27 points, 9 rebounds, hit 10 free throws, was not afraid to attack the rim in that game, and still scored at a high clip. That's a very good game right there from Brandon Podziemski. I'm still trying to figure it out. I have a Polish friend. She's just not responding to me to help figure out how to say this last name. But nonetheless, this boy can hoop. He said he models his game after Manu Ginobili, Dante DiVincenzo, Luka Doncic, and Jalen Brunson, which I don't know, but all that sounds great to me. So if he's a Grizzly by the end of next week, dude, I'm all in. I'm buying a jersey. You want to look at Gonzaga. Sure, he may not have the greatest games against Gonzaga, but 17 points in the first game at home against them. Shot 50% from the field still. Didn't shoot many threes, but he had 5 assists. He was playmaking a little bit more. Second game against Gonzaga was a little bit worse, right? But you're going to have those games. The one game to note that was really a standout game for him was the NIT first round game, not the NIT first round game, the West Coast Conference Tournament quarterfinal in a double overtime loss against San Francisco. He had 22, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, and was 7 for 17. But if you watch that game, he was a game changer. So I think that that Brandon is going to be one of the more underrated guys that could potentially go all the way up in the teens, but could fall in the second round. You just don't know. I think he's a very underrated guy in the drafts that you need to watch out for. Second guy, a little bit easier name to say, Colby Jones out of Xavier. He's a junior, 6'6", 205. He's a guard. He classified himself as a point guard, which if you watch it, 100% a point guard. He's got great playmaking upside, great 3-and-D upside, so you can play him off the ball if you'd like to as well. Average 15, 6 and 4 at 6 rebounds, 4 assists. You look at him and you're like, all right, it's a bigger guard, so everybody instantly thinks of he's slow or unathletic. And while that may be true, he understands that he isn't, this quick, small, short guard that is shifty and everything. That's why his playmaking ability goes unnoticed or underrated, just because of his size, I guess. But if Jokic proves anything, it doesn't matter about how tall you are when it comes to passing the rock. Look at a couple games here. Against Florida, I witnessed personally a massacre of him against us. 22 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, hit 4 threes. That's pretty good. Against Gonzaga, 22 points, 8 for 15 from the field, 7 and 7. Or 7 and 7, not 7 for 7. 7 and 7, hit 3 threes. Right? Those are 2 solid games, solid teams. Against UConn, the defending, or the national champions, at home, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 for 4 from 3, 7 for 10 from the field. He knows how to take smart shots, and that's a key. When you're coming into the draft as a little bit older guy, you know you're going to drop a little bit just because of your age. You're not that young, super high potential player, but you see it throughout all these guys that have, been the older guys going through the draft that drops a lot. They just know how to play ball, and they instantly come in and make an impact. You look at this game against Providence late in the season, 29 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 10 for 11 from the field, 3 for 3 from 3. Now, he didn't have a great tournament at all, really. But if you watch some of his game, you can tell that he's one of those guys that he's going to make good decisions. He turns it over at a decently high rate to start the year, and then you can see the numbers start to decrease. He had a stretch of, I think this is 4 or 5 games here, where it's 5, 4, 5, 3, 3, and then it goes down 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 0. So you can tell that he's still learning and developing, but as the season went on, he developed himself, and I think he's going to be a guy that can go unnoticed. He's going to be well for a contending team already. Not going to go to one of those teams that want young talent. He's going to be a guy that ends up going to a playoff-ready team. He's projected late first round, early second round, so he's a guy to look out for as well. That's Colby Jones out of Xavier, a guard. Now, looking at the next guy, we're going to kick it to a completely different person. If you can tell, my past 2 guys are a little bit older, maybe have played college basketball before, and my next 2 will be the same. But this guy is a guy who has never played a lick of college basketball and immediately took the jump to the G League Ignite, and that's Leonard Miller. He's a forward from Canada, played in the G League Ignite, averaged 17 and 10. He's 6'10", 210. Prided on his defensive effort, his slashing ability, and his rebounding, obviously looking at his numbers. Now, a lot of people are having him drop all the way down to the late first round, and if you look at his stats, you watch his games, you watch some of the way he plays, especially with half the year with no Scoot Henderson, where he was mainly the guy having to control this team. Man, it is some impressive stuff. And you've seen a lot of guys have success in the G League, move up to the NBA and be successful as well. So it isn't impossible. And already only at 19 years old, being a guy who is not known for his high-level scoring ability right now, it's impressive the numbers that he's putting up. His three-point shot is in the works, right? He shoots it, right? But the form is question. The form's questionable. If you see it, you'd tell it's questionable. We'll look at some of these games here real quick of Leonard's. And the first game I'm going to point out here is going to be his most recent game, or his last game that he played in the playoffs against Sioux Fall. 29 points, 12 for 20, hit 1 3, shot 1 for 3 from 3, had 14 rebounds, 4 blocks, 4 assists. That's insane. Yes, it's a loss, but he's still a +6 in the plus-minus. I mean, you're looking at a guy like him, and obviously the box score is not going to replicate to the stuff that he's like the most valuable for. But as a guy that is scoring 29 points, willing to shoot the 3-ball a little bit, it's impressive. Against the I think this is the Aqua Clippers or something like that. Whoever the Clippers G League team is, the Aqua Clippers, whatever the hell this is. 33 points, 3 for 17 from the field, hit 3 of 4 from 3, 11 rebounds. This is a game showing that, hey, he can shoot that 3 at the high level. He's trying. He's showing that he can shoot it, or he's willing to shoot it, and that's kind of all teams are looking for. Do you have the confidence that you can shoot it? So that's mainly what they want to see. But Leonard Miller is one of those guys where you can't look at the box score because, yeah, sure, you're taller, you're bigger than a lot of these other guys and more athletic, so you're going to get more of these points. You just got to watch him play and learn and understand the type of player he is. And he's 19 years old, doing all this against other G League guys, so that's pretty impressive. So Leonard Miller is one of the guys that I think I can see him popping up to the late lottery by draft night. A lot of teams have had him for private workouts. I know the Thunder are really high on him. They have a pick at 12. I think is their only first-round pick. Surprisingly, the Thunder only have one first-round pick. But I wouldn't be surprised if you hear Leonard Miller's name called on draft night in that lottery area, just because he is that much of a talent and will be that much of an impact for a team immediately. So a team like Oklahoma City would be a great benefit. Even you look at a team like the Lakers, if they trade off Jared Vanderbilt, or they plan on trading Jared Vanderbilt, Leonard Miller will be a great replacement for them. I'm not trying to help out the Lakers at all, but I'm just saying. And now moving on to our last two guys here. We just previously talked about a dude who is 19 years old. The first two guys we covered play a little bit of college basketball, and these two dudes have played a lot of college basketball. We're going to first of all, they're both second-round projected guys. We'll just put that out there. They're both second-round projected guys just because they've played so long. And obviously, if you know anything about the draft, NBA teams don't like these types of guys. But they're super valuable and become very productive in the NBA, as we see with a lot of guys. Most specifically, Austin Reeves, who's about to get a lot of money as an undrafted guy that played all 4 years in college. We're going to first start out with a guy named Seth Lundy. And if you watch the NBA Draft Combine where they played the 5-on-5 games, this guy really impressed a lot of teams. This year at Penn State, Seth Lundy's a guard forward out of Penn State, 6'6", 220, averaged 14 and 6 this year at Penn State. But the real thing to note, 40% from three. That's a big thing. You look at some of the games here. We'll first talk about the NBA Combine, where he was just shooting it from, I guess you could say, Curry range. He was shooting it from Curry range and was drilling. It was like heat check type of shots, and he was just drilling them. It was very impressive to watch. We'll first start off against the hottest team in college basketball towards the tournament, the Furman team. that took the tournament by storm. Seth Lundy against Furman had 20 points, 6 for 11 from 3 and 7 rebounds. Just watch him play. The way he comes off screens, the way he spots up way behind the three-point line is super impressive. Super impressive. I'm for sure impressed. He's got an eye on me, and he worked out for the Grizzlies, so I wanted to learn a little bit about him as well. Against Indiana, 25 points, 7 for 12 from 3. 7 for 12. He took 12 threes, hit 7 of them. That's pretty good, and that's just my opinion, but that's pretty good. Against Nebraska, Nebraska's not very good, but it doesn't matter. 24 points, 8 for 13 from 3. Right? But with every incredible game, you're going to have a low game. Look at the Rutgers game. 0 for 11 from 3, 1 for 16 from the field, 7 points, right? You're going to have these types of games to balance it out, but you have to watch him play. Once you watch him play and learn a little bit about him, and you won't miss him, he's a massive dude out there. Body built wise, he's a massive dude. He knocks down threes at a very high rate. You'll be able to tell who he is pretty quickly. And then the other game we'll talk about is in the Big Ten tournament in the first round against Purdue. Had 19 points, 3 for 5 from 3, 8 rebounds. And this is a game where you look at his foul stuff. And yes, with being a bigger body, he's not afraid to take on contact defensively. He's a very good defender. I forgot to even mention that. He's a very good defender. He's profiled as a 3-and-D wing. But with some of these games, you're looking at, he's going to get into foul trouble just because of his size. He's not afraid to body up. But within this game, you can tell, 8 rebounds, not afraid to get into the mix, still hitting threes. Yeah, he didn't shoot it at a high rate, but he was smart with his shots. If you watch the game, watch the film, you can see that he was a smart player there. He's projected second round. I think you can easily see him going to another team that can contend right now. He would instantly fit in and help the team. I say if the Grizzlies find a way at 46 to get him and he's there, by all means, go for it. And then the last guy we're going to talk about is we'll stay in the SEC. As an SEC guy, I watch a lot of SEC basketball, and I for sure had my eye on Mr. Kobe Brown this year from Missouri. 6'8" forward. They classify him as a guard, but he's 100% a forward. Out of Huntsville, Alabama. Averaged 16, 6, and 2.5 assists this year. Shot 55% from the field. And most importantly, just like Seth Lundy, most importantly, 45.5% from 3. Yeah, that's for this guy, that's pretty impressive. If you see the type of player he is, it's impressive. I think he shot 47% on catch and shoot threes. Freakish stuff. Let's look at some of these box score here because I can't show you highlights, obviously, through a podcast. Against Illinois, 31 points, 3 for 4 from 3, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, 4 steals. Okay, who is this guy? Like that's the type of like realization when you see somebody like immediately before I look at any highlights or film or breakdown videos. I go to their box score and I try to find the best games, and I want to watch those games first to see their highlights. And I'm like, oh crap, this guy had 31 against Illinois, and the next week came out against Kentucky and scored 30. Like, who is this guy? Why do I need to pay attention to him? And that's where I found out about him. He was very impressive. Scored 21 against Florida, hit 4 threes, 5 steals there. You catch some of these guys every year that are coming out of the conferences with high talent, and they're just older guys. Kobe Brown being the main example of one right now coming out of the SEC. Big physical dude, not afraid to attack the rack, hit from 3. He can play make, and he can defend. Projected second-round guy. Again, if you're a contending team that wants to win now, try to maximize that window. Kobe Brown is the type of guy you want on your team, a.k.a., hey, Memphis, you just got David Roddy last year. Let's pair you with Kobe Brown, who shoots even better from 3 and has the ability to play make. That would be a great guy to get. So all 5 of these guys would be fantastic players for any championship roster, team that is getting ready to win right now. they're some of the more underrated guys, just because you have all these flashy young guys like the Scoot, the Victors, the Brandons, the Thompsons, all these types of guys, that some of these other older guys are the real gems of this class. And when you look at this draft class, you think, okay, you got the top 10, and then you don't know who's going from 11 to 30. It could be completely different, and everybody's mock draft is completely different. You might look at my mock draft and then go to CBS and be like, oh my gosh, that is not even the same. Or you go to my mock draft and go to the Athletics mock draft. Completely different, right? Everyone's going to have a different opinion on players. So everybody's going to have a different draft grade on players. That's just kind of how it is. But in this draft, you have a lot of older guys. And for teams that are contending, and with the new CBA where the luxury tax goes down on these max contract players, you need these second rounders. You need these late first round older rookies that have experience that can help out on these teams and be productive immediately. That is very, very, very important for all these teams. I can't stress that enough. You're starting to see it with some of these other teams that want to trade up into the late first round or get a second round pick. That's enough talking from me today for you guys. I know that is a lot that I just threw on you, but that's not even half the stuff that I have on my website, yoursportsdigest.com. I got everything on there. Like I said, NBA draft big board, top 60 players are in that. NBA free agency tracker. We already got a couple guys. Fred VanVleet opted out of his player option. Danilo Gallinari took his player option to remain in Boston. That's just some of the stuff you can find on there. You can follow the free agency tracker with all the options that get declined or accepted this year. And then, most importantly, my mock draft 1.0 right now. Keep in mind, this was, I believe on the 12th is when I posted that one. The new one will be coming out Saturday the 17th? Yep, 17th. I know my days of the week. Saturday the 17th will be mock draft 2.0. Next week, the final mock draft will be coming out on Wednesday before the draft, and we'll have a mock draft special episode. It's going to go real quick. We're going to do a quick breakdown. It's going to be like 15, 20 minutes, but I want to get you guys geared up for the NBA draft. That'll happen on Thursday. Monday, we'll do a little bit more. We'll talk about the College World Series that happened over the weekend. Like I said, Wednesday, we're going to do a big mock draft special. So Monday and Wednesday's episodes are going to be shorter, but they're going to be completely different from one another. Unless something big happens in the NBA over the weekend that we need to talk about on Monday, Monday's not going to really be a basketball episode. So Wednesday is where you're going to look out for your NBA episode, your NBA draft, your all that type of stuff. And then Friday, another episode popping out. I'm just going to spam you guys with episodes next week. But Friday is going to be the immediate reactions after the NBA draft. There will, as I'm recording, there will be players that are signing two-way contracts with teams. I'm going to have to keep up with all of it. That's not going to be done until like 4 in the morning. So that'll be fun for me. But I hope you guys enjoy everything that I talk about. Hope you guys are checking out the website. I really love doing this. I can't wait to see where this ends up going. Again, this is never in it for any type of, money or whatever. I want to do it because this is a platform that I can talk to a lot of you guys, all my friends that mainly watch this, or anybody who's new, may not really know me that well, but have listened, right? I appreciate you more than you could ever imagine. I hope you guys stay safe. Enjoy the College World Series over the weekend. Please watch those games. It's the only thing on TV, so why not watch them? I'm Alex McNinch, and you just got your Sports Digest. I'll see you all Monday.